the learner. I want you to imagine something for a second. Like the next time you find yourself standing in the supplement aisle of a grocery store, just holding a bottle of vitamins.
Right, the one that promises, like, boundless energy or an immune system made of steel.
Exactly. You're holding this glossy bottle, and I need you to realize this. You are holding something the FDA has legally never approved.
Yeah.
It's a wild paradox. I mean, we swallow these compounds daily. We totally trust the labels, and yet the entire system relies on this massive, surprising loophole.
It really is. And, that reality check usually stops people in their tracks.
Oh, for sure.
Because we are conditioned by prescription medication to assume that if a pill is in a bottle on a store shelf, some government scientist in a lab coat has rigorously tested it.
Right. Like they vetted the formula and stamped it with a gold seal of guaranteed safety before it ever went into production.
Exactly. But in the United States dietary supplement market, that assumption is just fundamentally false.
Which is exactly why we are doing this today. Whether you are, an insanely curious consumer just trying to figure out which probiotic actually does something.
Or you're an entrepreneur trying to launch the next great wellness brand.
Yes. We are giving you the ultimate cheat sheet to survive this landscape. And to do that, we are pulling insights from a really fascinating 2026 article by Laurent Fabian.
Right, the founder of Ingredientsage.
That's the one. The article is titled Guide to Finding and Evaluating Supplement Experts. So, okay, let's unpack this. Because to understand the solution...
It is how to assemble the right experts to guide you.
Right, we have to dive into the actual mechanics of that FDA loophole first.
Yeah, and the foundation of this entire situation is a piece of legislation from over 30 years ago.
Wow, 30 years.
Yeah, it's the Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act of 1994. It's universally known in the industry as DSHEA.
DSHEA.
Right.
Yeah.
And under this framework, dietary supplements were legally categorized in a completely different universe than prescription drugs.
Okay, so how does it actually work in practice?
Well, the operative mechanism of DSHEA is that manufacturers can formulate, package, and sell products without any prior pre-market approval from the FDA.
Wait, let me make sure I am grasping the scale of this.
Sure.
The FDA doesn't even, glance at the recipe before a company starts mass-producing millions of capsules.
Right. Nope. They do not see the recipe, they do not test the raw ingredients up front, and they definitely do not verify the clinical trials of a new blend before it ships to consumers.
That's wild. So what do they actually do?
They operate on a system of post-market surveillance.
Okay.
So they enforce what are kind of current good manufacturing practices, or GMPs, which are essentially facility standards, to ensure a factory is clean, keeping good records, that sort of thing.
Right.
They also monitor the market for adverse event reports. So if people start getting sick, or if random testing discovers a product is adulterated with, heavy metals.
Then they step in.
Exactly. Then the FDA can swing a heavy hammer. They can issue mandatory recalls, seize inventory, pull products off the shelves.
But the key word there is post-market.
Yes.
It's like, think of it this way. It's like letting a commercial builder construct a massive apartment complex. Doing the plumbing, pouring the concrete, wiring the electricity.
They're not doing the whole build.
Right, without requiring a single city permit or inspection during the build. Yeah. And the city inspector only shows up to bulldoze the place after the roof has already caved in on someone's head.
That analogy perfectly captures the systemic risk, honestly.
It's just so backwards.
It is. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this regulatory framework creates a vast gray area where supplements live.
A gray area between what and what?
Between general, everyday nutrition guidance, like being told to eat more broccoli, and strict, heavily regulated medical advice.
Ah, I see.
A supplement brand is legally allowed to make claims about, supporting or maintaining the structure and function of your body.
Right, like supports joint health.
Exactly. But they cannot claim to cure, treat, or prevent a disease. And because of this massive pre-market void, independent verification, rigorous scientific evaluation, and absolute sourcing transparency, they aren't just marketing gimmicks anymore.
No, they sound like survival requirements.
They are baseline survival requirements for any brand that wants to avoid hurting people.
Which means, for you listening, every time you add a supplement to your digital cart, you are relying entirely on the honor system of the person who made it.
Yep.
You are basically betting your internal organs that they hired the right people to do the homework.
That's exactly what you're doing.
And that pivots us to the core of this deep dive. Because if the FDA isn't vetting the formulas, who actually is.
Right.
The article outlines 5 specific credentialed experts who do this work. And looking at this group, it feels like you are assembling an Ocean's 11 crew.
I love that comparison.
But instead of breaking into a casino vault, they're pulling off the ultimate heist of clinical safety.
Let's actually play out that heist scenario.
Okay, let's do it.
Imagine a brand is trying to formulate a brand new, highly complex botanical energy supplement. They want to use plant extracts to boost focus, and they want to bring it to market safely.
Right, because I am assuming you can't just hire a generalist nutrition coach off the internet to formulate something that might alter a person's heart rate.
Definitely not. If they just mix powders together and hope for the best, they are flying blind. They need specialists with highly specific scopes of practice.
So let's start building the crew. If I'm launching this energy botanical, who is my first call?
You would immediately want to bring in a clinical pharmacist with a nutrition focus.
That's pharmacist. Okay.
Yeah, because their specialized domain is pharmacokinetics.
Okay, let's define that for the listener, because pharmacokinetics sounds like something out of an advanced physics textbook.
Fair enough. Think of pharmacokinetics as the study of the journey a substance takes once it crosses your lips.
Okay, so like digestion.
More than that. How is it absorbed? How does it distribute through your tissues? How does your liver metabolize it? And how does your body eventually excrete it?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So in our energy supplement scenario, the clinical pharmacist is looking for nutrient-drug interactions.
Okay, give me an example.
They're analyzing the molecular structure of your botanical extract to see if it utilizes the exact same metabolic pathway in the liver as, say, a common blood-thinning medication.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Right. Because if it does, your supplement might accidentally block the prescription drug from being processed.
Which means
dangerous levels of the medication could build up in a consumer's bloodstream.
Okay, wow. So the pharmacist ensures the supplement doesn't turn someone's daily prescription into a toxic hazard.
Exactly.
They are protecting the metabolic pathways. Who is next on the crew?
Next, you bring in the physician with a nutrition focus.
A medical doctor.
Yes. While the pharmacist is focused on the molecular interactions with drugs, the medical doctor provides the broad physiological perspective. They are searching for contraindications for special populations.
Meaning they're answering the question, who absolutely should not take this? Yes, exactly. They evaluate the systemic risk.
Right.
So if your botanical energy blend increases vascular pressure even slightly, the physician is the one who steps in and dictates that this product is strictly contraindicated for anyone with a history of hypertension.
Or for individuals who are pregnant or lactating, maybe.
Precisely. They provide the medical safety backstop.
Okay, so we have the pharmacist checking the chemical interactions and the physician protecting vulnerable populations.
Yep.
But someone still has to figure out if the energy supplement actually gives you energy, right? Like someone has to do the math on the ingredients to ensure it's not just expensive flavored water.
That falls to the Certified Nutrition Specialist, or CNS.
Okay, what do they do?
This designation requires intensive graduate-level education and thousands of hours of supervised clinical practice. The CNS takes a deep dive into the complex dietary literature.
So they're the researchers.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
They're the ones scouring the cellular research to determine the exact milligram threshold required for your botanical extract to actually stimulate cognitive focus.
Oh, so they're building the heavy evidence-based architecture of the formula.
Exactly.
Well, the heavy architecture is great, but eventually, you have to sell this to regular people. You have to write a label that a tired parent in a grocery store can understand in 3 seconds.
Right, and without accidentally violating FDA rules about disease claims?
Yes, exactly. Who does that?
That is the domain of the Registered Dietitian Nutritionist, the RDN.
Ah, okay.
They are state-credentialed professionals who specialize in translation. They take the dense clinical science generated by the CNS and the pharmacist, and they translate it into practical, compliant consumer guidance.
So they design the nutrition disclosures.
Yep, and ensure the recommended daily habits align perfectly with regulatory expectations.
Awesome. And the final member of our crew.
The nurse practitioner, or NP, with a nutrition focus.
What's the role?
NPs are heavily trained in comprehensive, holistic patient assessment. So in a product development environment, they look at the entire lifestyle picture.
Oh, so taking it out of the lab and into the real world.
Exactly. They shape the multidisciplinary safety messaging, ensuring that all the high-level science we just discussed actually translates into safe, actionable routines for human being managing a chaotic life.
I love the dynamic of this crew. I mean, you can clearly see how the RDN relies on the CNS, who relies on the
Yeah, it's
pharmacist.
totally interconnected.
But, okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Let me push back here.
All right.
If I am an insanely curious consumer trying to evaluate a brand's About Us page, or if I'm a startup founder with a limited budget trying to launch this energy gummy, I can't put an entire hospital wing on payroll.
That's very true.
I cannot hire all 5. So who is the MVP?
Well, it is tempting to look for a single MVP, but the reality of formulation science just doesn't work that way.
Okay, why not?
The most crucial concept to grasp here is scope of practice. The MVP entirely depends on the specific risk profile of the product you are putting into the world.
Give me an example of how that plays out.
Sure. If you are developing a highly concentrated herbal extract known to affect liver enzymes, your MVP is unquestionably the clinical pharmacist.
Because of the pharmacokinetics.
Exactly. No one else has the training to mitigate that specific risk. However, if your product is a simple, water-soluble daily vitamin complex aimed at helping people fill basic dietary gaps,
Then what?
well, hiring a pharmacist would be overkill. Your MVP in that scenario is the RDN, because the primary challenge is translating nutritional guidelines into daily consumer habits.
Oh, wow.
It is entirely about matching the professional's legal and educational scope of practice to the mechanism of the supplement.
That is a massive shift in perspective. It's not about finding the smartest doctor in the room. It's about finding the right tool for the specific job.
Exactly.
Okay, so whether a brand has an RDN or a clinical pharmacist evaluating a formula, how do they actually do their job? Like when they are staring at a proposed ingredient list, how are they separating the rigorous science from the snake oil?
They apply an aggressive, evidence-based filter. I mean, they do not care about a single isolated study conducted on 12 mice in a basement laboratory.
Right.
They demand randomized controlled trials and, more importantly, meta-analyses, which, synthesize data across dozens of clinical trials to find the true consensus.
Okay.
And when evaluating an ingredient, they are specifically looking for the magnitude of effect and consistency.
Okay, let's break down magnitude of effect for the listener, because I think this is where a lot of marketing tricks happen.
Oh, absolutely.
A brand might say clinically proven to increase energy markers, but statistically significant doesn't always mean practically meaningful.
Right.
If a supplement increases my energy output by like 0.5%, a scientist might be able to measure that on a spreadsheet.
Sure.
But as a human being, I'm not going to feel any different when my alarm goes off at 6 a.m.
Not at all.
So the magnitude of effect is basically asking, does this ingredient move the needle enough to justify swallowing it?
That is the exact distinction. A qualified expert demands proof that the physiological change is significant enough to benefit the patient in the real world.
Makes sense.
And alongside searching for robust evidence, these experts are highly trained to hunt for red flags.
Ooh, let's talk about those red flags.
Yeah.
Because the article lays out some landmines that consumers step on every single day.
Yeah, they really do.
Like missing dosage information is a huge one. If a label tells you what ingredients are inside, but refuses to tell you the specific serving sizes or the amounts per ingredient, you have to put the bottle back.
Absolutely. Unverified ingredients with limited historical safety data are another glaring issue. And of course, the universal miracle claims.
Oh man, the miracle claims.
They are the easiest to spot once you know to look for them. I mean, if a product claims to radically transform your cellular health, cure your chronic fatigue, fix your digestion, and completely rewrite your biology.
All with absolutely zero caveats or potential side effects.
Right, then you are looking at marketing fiction, not clinical science. Biology is messy. There is no compound on Earth that does everything for everyone without a trade-off.
But I want to zero in on the most insidious red flag. The one that totally blew my mind while reading the source material.
Okay, which one?
The undisclosed proprietary blend.
Oh, yes.
From a marketing perspective, proprietary blend sounds incredible. It sounds premium. It sounds like a highly guarded, exclusive recipe passed down through generations.
It does sound nice.
But in reality, it is a massive, flashing neon warning sign.
Yeah.
Because hiding the exact amounts of each ingredient in a blend makes it literally impossible to manage safety risks.
Exactly.
Buying a proprietary blend is like buying a mystery box for your internal organs. You might know what the ingredients are, but but you have no idea if you are getting a microscopic sprinkle or a massive shovelful of a powerful botanical.
I love that. The mystery box analogy is scientifically accurate. I mean, think back to our Ocean's 11 crew, specifically the clinical pharmacist analyzing pharmacokinetics.
Right, the drug interactions.
The entire discipline of pharmacokinetics relies on mathematics. You have to calculate exact molecular concentrations to determine if an ingredient will block a liver enzyme and interact with a prescription drug.
Right.
So if a brand hands their formulation to a pharmacist and says, it's a proprietary blend, we won't tell you the exact milligrams of the botanical, the pharmacist is paralyzed.
Oh, wow.
You cannot calculate an interaction with a question mark. A proprietary blend intentionally obscures transparency, and when you obscure transparency, you destroy the ability to guarantee safety.
That is the ultimate aha moment. If you don't have the numbers, the experts are flying blind. You are stripping your own safety crew of their tools.
That's exactly it.
Okay, so we know what to run away from. We run away from mystery boxes and miracle claims. But how do we definitively prove a product is clean?
Well,
especially since we established in the very beginning that the FDA isn't checking these bottles before they hit the shelves. Where's the industry heading right now in 2026 to solve this trust deficit?
to bridge that pre-market gap, the industry relies heavily on independent third-party verifications.
Yeah.
These are external organizations that come in, audit the facilities, and chemically test the final products to guarantee what is on the label is actually inside the bottle. The article emphasizes the big three certifications to look for.
Okay, let's go through them. First up is USP Verified. This program independently tests products to ensure potency, purity, and that the product will properly break down and dissolve in your digestive tract so your body can actually absorb it.
Second is NSF Certified for Sport. And this certification goes even further, specifically catering to competitive athletes.
How so?
It tests every single batch to ensure the product is completely free from more than 280 substances banned by major athletic organizations, while also validating all label claims.
That's intense. And the third is Informed Choice, which conducts regular blind testing of products pulled directly from retail shelves to ensure ongoing integrity and the absence of banned substances. But the article made a brilliant point that goes beyond just looking for a shiny logo on the packaging. You have to verify the verifier.
Yes, this is huge.
Because a shady brand can easily print a fake USP logo on a label. You can and should go to the official databases for USP or NSF, type in the specific lot number printed on the bottom of your bottle, and cross-check it to ensure the certification is legitimate.
That level of active consumer diligence is driving the entire frontier of the industry in 2026. We are light years away from the regulatory Wild West of the 1990s.
That's a relief.
Yeah. The major trends right now are rooted in hypertransparency and advanced biology. Take nutrigenomics, for example.
Nutrigenomics is a concept that sounds like pure science fiction, but it is happening right now. We are talking about personalized nutrition, where formulas are directly guided by an individual's genetic data and the specific makeup of their gut microbiome.
It's incredible. Brands are moving away from the one-size-fits-all multivitamin.
Thank goodness.
They are analyzing how your specific DNA dictates your metabolism of vitamin D, or how your microbiome synthesizes B vitamins, and they are engineering formulas tailored to those exact biological pathways.
But to achieve that level of precision, the sourcing of the raw materials has to be flawless.
We're absolutely flawed.
Which brings up the next massive trend: batch-level traceability. I want you to picture scanning a QR code on the back of your morning supplement bottle.
Oh, yeah.
Your phone immediately pulls up the exact geographic coordinates of the farm where the magnesium was sourced, the date it was harvested, the soil quality reports, and the third-party lab tests for that specific batch of capsules.
It's amazing.
Consumers are no longer accepting vague promises. They were demanding real-time provenance data.
And delivering that level of traceability requires a complete overhaul of traditional supply chains. The article highlights a very practical solution to this.
What's the solution?
It suggests a model where you pair your vetted clinical expert like your CNS or your RDN directly with a highly integrated contract manufacturer.
Okay, so they work together.
Right. The author references Ingredientsage as an example of a partner providing end-to-end sourcing, formulation, and packaging under one roof. When the clinical expert designing the formula is operating in tight integration with the facility actually procuring the raw materials, You eliminate the massive disconnects that usually lead to contamination or dosing errors.
Because the left hand actually knows what the right hand is doing from the very first sketch of the formula to the moment the bottle is sealed.
Exactly. In the 2026 landscape, things like transparent third-party testing, batch-level traceability, and evidence-based clinical formulations, they are no longer premium features just to make a brand look trustworthy on Instagram.
Right.
They are absolute competitive necessities. If a brand cannot mathematically prove its integrity at every step of the supply chain, it simply will not survive the scrutiny of the modern market.
So what does this all mean for you, the learner? Whether you are evaluating a bottle to put in your own cabinet or you are sketching out a business plan for a new wellness startup, let's leave you with a rapid-fire practical checklist. First, demand transparent labeling. If you see the words proprietary blend, treat it like a mystery box and walk away.
Yep.
Second, verify the credentials of the people behind the brand. Use professional directories like the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics to ensure the experts are actually licensed for their specific scope of practice.
Crucial step.
Third, look for the big three third-party testing logos, USP, NSF, or Informed Choice, and actually verify the lot numbers.
Don't just trust the logo.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And finally, if you are ever booking a consultation with one of these experts, come prepared. Bring your exact medication lists, your recent lab results, and your specific goals so the clinical pharmacist and the physician can actually do their jobs and protect your metabolic pathways.
Preparation and skepticism are your best tools in an environment that relies heavily on the manufacturer's burden of responsibility.
They absolutely are. And as we close out this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought to mull over.
Okay, let's hear it.
We talked about the explosive trend of nutrigenomics, where advanced science is allowing formulations to be guided by your individual genetic and microbiome data.
Right.
If the science continues accelerating in this direction, does the traditional mass-market supplement aisle at your local grocery store even have a future?
Ooh.
Or are we only a few short years away from every single bottle manufactured being a true proprietary blend of one, engineered strictly, solely, and perfectly for your unique DNA?
That is a paradigm shift that will redefine human health.
It changes everything. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Stay insanely curious, keep asking the hard questions, and always read the labels closely. Catch you next time.